The important thing right now is that we don't overhype it, is that we don't overdo it, is that we don't overstate it. But I did just hear that Lionel Messi is hoping someday he can be as good as Max Dowman. This is the Arsenal Vision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Will it happen? Unlikely, especially at his advanced age. But Max Dowman, could he be better than Lionel Messi? I think that's the wrong question. And I don't think it's a fair question. I think the question is he better than Messi right now? And that is part of what we'll talk about, along with, is it happening? It feels like it's happening. It really feels like it's happening. And in that moment, late in the game, when it was so over and Max Dowman came on, I found inside me the dawn of an it's back on. And it was back on. Victor Gyokeres goal, Max Dowman goal, Mikel Arteta goes nuts, the Emirates goes nuts. A night for the ages at the Emirates, a night for the ages for Arsenal, a night you will always remember. Mikel Arteta said, everyone in the ground will always remember that they were there. I think all of us watching all over the world will always remember it. And for Mikel Arteta to say to the 16-year-old, go on, do your thing and win us the game. That tells you all you need to know. A really, really special time we're going to talk about. So real quick, want to let you know we're going to be in D.C., Washington, D.C., at Franklin Hall. Would love for you to be there April 11th, tentatively, but it depends when the Bournemouth game falls. So we're going to put the website out later this week when we find out the actual time and date of that game. If you want to be there, we'd love to have you there. There's actually going to be a nationwide event here. My thought is, I think this would be a really good time to bring the Arsenal community here together at a time when we could use community here and positive support, and it'll all be organized around supporting those kids in the Zadar refugee camp through our foundation fundraiser in April. Kids who already had it hard and who now are under immense strain and stress. And so we are going to try to give back, put a little positive karma back into the world, a world that needs it, and an Arsenal fan base that could certainly use it to get us over the line here. So we'll be supporting that in DC. Of course, there'll be the event in London at the end of the season. We'll have more details on that soon. But there will be a website out. But if you want to just circle that date on your calendar, the April 11th timeframe, we'll zero that in when the Bournemouth game date and time is finalized. Okay, well, this week we will definitely try to get a rewatch of this in. We'll have an instant reaction after the Leverkusen pod, all that, all the usual stuff over on Patreon. We had a fantastic Friday night Clive on Friday where we said, who wants to be a hero? That was the title. I think we just found out. And here to discuss that with me is Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, loved your voice note from the ground last night in the IR. So there's a lot of things I want to ask you about. We asked who wants to be a hero. I don't think we were prepared to say it should be the 16-year-old, but it was really the 16-year-old. And I just want to ask you, when we have these Pantheon nights between City dropping points unexpectedly, huge misses at the death, Arsenal finding goals at the death, Max Dowman's involvement, put it in the Pantheon for me. Where's this one go in terms of memorable moments for you?
I think it's a top 5, really, for me. I'm sure I said that before. And there's been a lot of good moments at the Emirates, particularly in the last 2-3 years.
Eddie Nketiah's hat-trick against Sheffield United. And then what else?
It's been a few, remember, Gabriel.
I was at that game. That's why.
Gabriel Jesus' goal against United was a big one. Declan Rice's goal just before that. Obviously, Reece Nelson one was a big one. They're the ones that stick out in my mind, and sometimes the ones that surprise you are the ones that stay in your head. That United game was quite tight. We nearly lost it. Remember, then we broke away towards the end and won it. And it was just beautiful the way it happened.
Is that where Jesus, who did he sit down Delo or whatever on his ass, sliding by?
Yeah, down. Even the Kai Havertz one against Chelsea was magical,
Oh, yeah.
There's some great moments that have happened recently. And there is a lovely, lovely vibe inside that ground. I mean, I got to be honest with you, there are been some tense moments this year. But I don't know if I'm looking at football in a different way. I just have a different lens for this season. It just feels different, and it's felt different to me since the moment Eze walked out in his flare jeans. That's when it felt different. I thought, there's something going on here. And the approach we took to go into the season, the depth options we took in the transfer window, and I'm looking around at all the things that have happened to us injury-wise, and I think we would never have coped with this last year. And there's just been a feeling, even things in this game that happened that went our way, Elliot, that did not go our way last year. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yep.
I didn't realise, just watching the Calafiori block, mate, that's like incredible. But that could have easily just hit his heel and gone in, and that's the sort of things that we're getting this year. And I think There's an old saying, mate, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And we're working really hard for these wins. I can sense it. I can sense something happening.
I think a little bit of luck was owed to us. I think a little bit was due. And I know it doesn't work that way. It's gambler's fallacy. But like, there was a stretch there where we were not getting results despite huge XG dominance, right? Or a team would have 0.2 XG and they'd get 2 goals like Wolves did. City now confronting a little bit of that. Dominant on XG against West Ham. West Ham had 1 shot. They had 1 goal. It was all they needed. Sometimes it does turn around. Last season, the red cards, the penalties. And you know what? This was a night that felt a little last season-ish with the way Andy Madley was refereeing, his insistence that it wasn't a penalty. You know it's bad when Sky Sports are saying it's a clear, nailed-on penalty, and it was, obviously, and VAR takes 3 seconds to hand wave it away, and then he's giving every shoulder barge to them as a foul, and he's giving them fouls on corner kicks as if to say, I've been reading the papers, I know what these guys try to do. So it could have been a night that felt redolent of prior seasons that fell short. Instead, it becomes a moment of elation, I have to say. A second goal at the death, right? When you're up by 1 and you're biting through every fingernail you have left, when it goes from intense anxiety, like Pickford being up for the corner, to intense joy, that is one of the best feelings that only football can deliver. It is a historic night. I think when you're making the DVD, if they still make those of this season, if it goes the way we think, I was trying to think of what the tentpole nights would be, or the tentpole moments. I think Ez's hat trick, certainly. Gabriel's header against Newcastle. And then this. You know, I'm talking about the league season only. And this one, especially in light of what then happened in the City game, this is definitely a night we're going to remember, I think, for a very, very long time. And the fact that it also heralds the arrival of a young superstar is something special. So I think we should probably just get into the Max Dowman of it. And then we can go back and talk about a game that I think is very interesting and there's a lot to discuss. But Max was in the squad, first of all, because Mikel chose him over Norgard. He didn't have a midfielder on the bench. Not one. I mean, you could say Miles Lewis-Skelly sort of, but like Max was on the bench and Norgard wasn't, and Christian Norgard's not injured. So that, first of all, tells you where Mikel's head is on this player's importance to what he can give us. And then to bring him on over Jesus, you know, to bring him on over some of the options he had on the bench is a huge show of confidence. And what he does from there, I thought it was an immense performance from the moment he came on. So what do you make of this night, this moment for Max and his performance overall?
Yeah, I didn't realise that, you know, I was in the ground and I just didn't look at the subs. So I didn't even, I saw him in the squad and thought, he has to be in the squad. And this game has worried me, as you know, for quite a while because I happened to be in the ground last year when they came and did a very similar job and walked away with 0-0. And it really sort of scarred me. It sort of told me about where last season's football was and what teams could do against us. And I spoke to Scott about this. We did an analysis on the 14 draws. And those 14 draws really got into my head. And I think it's got into Mikel's head because he's changed how we played on occasion, particularly early in the season. We've been far more direct, shall we say, up, back, and maybe second ball and go from there to try to break into teams. And also we've done a lot more tackling. And it sounds crazy and obvious, but tackles and what we do in those first 3 passes has been really quite good this year. And I feel more encouraged when we win it. I almost feel encouraged when they have the ball and we win it off them, then we go. And so to me, it made perfect sense that he was on the bench. And also the nature of this game, Everton having a big lead into the game, they could focus on this game, they could do a lot of analysis on us, try to stress us out, try to press us on occasions, knowing they have energy in the bank. So if you are a manager, you're trying to predict the future, you're thinking, okay, we're in the middle of a 4-game block of 2 Champions League games, Man City in a cup final, and Everton. And you're thinking, I might need to help these teams out. I don't think I'm going to need Christian Norgard. I think I might need to score a goal in the last quarter. And so I need to make sure that all my attackers are available on the bench. So I have those options. And that makes sense because you can do things with midfielders. You can do things with defenders. You can move them into midfield. If you need to solidify, you can go your defenders into a back 5, etc. You can block out a game. If you need to win a game, you need all your options available. So it made perfect sense to me. I didn't even know who was left out of the squad. And when he came on, the sun came out. But I don't think it was,
which is rare at night, by the way.
The sun came out in all our hearts when he came on. And I have to say, Elliot, from minute 1, I thought we played quite well. I did, and sometimes when you're watching us against Brighton, you can see the fatigue over the squad. You watch Leverkusen first leg, you can see that. I can't describe. I haven't got the right words. A stickiness, a stodginess, a fatigue in certain players. You can see it, and it's been a worry of mine. Everyone's talking about how we're playing. It's more for me, why are we playing this way? Because I felt we've looked tired. I felt we looked a bit, frail. And so basically, to see Arsenal bouncing again, I was happy from minute 5. Literally, there you go, we're back. Calafiori bouncing through the midfield, just bouncing with it, flinging the ball around, quick free kicks. Just as soon as I saw that, I thought our intention is back, and I was worried. And we look energetic again, like we knew this game was really important. And so when Max came on, it's almost like, okay, I want more of the same, more of that. I want more of that energy, another way to get into them. And so, yeah, for me, it all felt inevitable. And I can't describe to you why I've got this inner confidence. I don't know where it's come from, because I was nervous like everybody else, but I just felt this was all felt inevitable to me.
Yeah, and when we did Friday night, Clive, one thing I said is, I think we could play really well in this game and still have a really tight, difficult game on our hands, because Everton have one of the best defensive records in the league. They're the third meanest defense, and I think they've lost only 4 times away all season, if that. So they're one of the best away teams and one of the best defenses. So it was always going to be the case that even if we played well, this was going to be a tight game. Yeah. And David Moyes has given us some trouble since Mikel Arteta arrived. I just think sometimes maybe you're too young to feel the enormity of the moment. And there are a lot of players that maybe are feeling the pressure a bit, but not this kid. And there's so many things that stand out to me. I mean, first of all, it was immediately evident that the team was willing to get him the ball. No Arsenal player attempted more dribbles than Max Dowman. Only Rice created more chances. Only Gabriel won more fouls. He had 28 touches. Now you might say, is that a lot? Is that not a lot? Well, put it in perspective. Nani Madueke played an hour. He had 32 touches. Kai Havertz had 26. Gabriel Martinelli had 15. Victor Gyokeres had 12. 28 touches. You might say, who cares about that? That tells me his teammates weren't thinking, oh, let's be careful. Let's give it to Martinelli. Let's give it back to the defender. They were looking for him in the same way Barcelona looked for Lamine Yamal. Get Max the ball. He's going to do something. And their willingness to give him the ball tells you that they know the talent that's in his boots. And I think Mikel's quotes, sometimes he says all the stuff you wish you could think to say. And he did that on this night. He really summed it up well, which is incredible given the emotion that you could see coursing through him. His celebrations were incredible. But a couple of things. Quote, people will say in years to come, I was there in the stadium that day when that kid scored that goal in that context. It was one of the best moments we have lived together at the Emirates. I had a gut feeling that it was a moment for him. He just plays so naturally. What he delivered was incredible. There's not much more to say about that moment, but Clive, I think there is more to say about Max Dowman. And one of the things that I think there is to say is the things he can do are things I feel we need. So without getting ahead of ourselves, do you think this is another proof point for Mikel that he's a player he should start to call on when we need to unlock defenses a little more? Do you think this is a pathway to more minutes for him?
It's just natural, mate. Yeah, you can't stop talent. That's not even a question, Elliot. You can't look at that and decide, well, I'm not going to use that because you're not a football manager. If that's the case, a football manager will do anything possible to win a game of football, and while protecting players where he feels he needs to. His talent speaks so loud, you can't ignore it, and it's quite interesting. Everyone feels the same, so it's not unique to me or you or the lads on last night. It's just so clear. So what stands out to you that's so different to other people? He seems to be able to, when he dribbles, he's quick. He's quick. And so sometimes your eyes are fixed on him, but look at the people trying to tackle him, how they're reaching forward with their hands. They're not even getting to him with their feet. There's a gap there, and he gaps people. Then he plays with a really straight back. So when you play with players like that who don't, almost like they're not looking at the ball, they're a bit spooky, right? They've got the ball under their control, but they've got their heads up all the time. And it's like, okay, you want to get people with their heads down. Well, you never get his head down, do you? He can see every picture. He knows what he's doing. The words I've used in the past is he lives in the future. So he's almost creating his own painting, and he wants to establish a technical and physical dominance over his opponents. And so one of the key bits for me is, just remember, right, he's 16, right? So if ever you've played in sport or you've gone up a level or so one of the first things I used to do, I was a bit deferent. What can I do to help this team? But I'll just keep in my lane. He comes on the ball in the second half and he stands in front of Mikalenko and just stands there with the ball and just stops. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And they're not jumping on him.
No, Mikalenko was shitting himself against it. He was standing off. He's like, I'm not going to get embarrassed by this kid.
Because
I want no part of it.
Because what he does, sometimes he just manipulates the ball, shows everybody I've got the ball under control. Players read messages really, really quickly, and they think, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get embarrassed by it. I'm not going to jump in. He's going to move it. I'm going to stand there and see what he does. He just said, well, I'm going to stand here and see what you do. I mean, that's just high quality, man-on-man play. It's just high quality stuff. And it was quite. I've said to you, or may have said to you, or said it to online. I felt very privileged to be in that ground on Saturday. Incredibly privileged, lucky to be there most weeks every week really. And but I felt very privileged to be in that environment with all Arsenal people around. I just happened to be in an area of the ground that was next to Max's family. And I was looking to my right thinking they'd be excited when he came on. Then the whispers went round, that's his family sort of thing. I thought, oh, crikey. And then you could just see through them the emotion coming out. And as an ex-academy parent, you know what you do for your kids in this. You know the role that you play, driving around the country, going abroad to watch them and going on tours, and you have to manage their schoolwork at the same time. You have to, at Max's level, he's got to manage his agents at the same time, and I'm sure he's got an inner circle now protecting him. And I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at them enjoy this moment. I'm thinking, wow, this must be so, so special. And Elliot, I don't mind saying, I'm not saying them, but I look around me in that ground, and there was tears everywhere, mate. There were people off. You were there at Bournemouth. It's very similar. Yeah. But I actually think it might have been a bit better because it feels we're closer to something, So
it feels bigger for two reasons. I mean, granted, it wasn't as late, but I think one is it feels more like we're going to do it now even than then, although then it did feel a bit that way. This is just a little later in the season and just a little bit more of a gap. And then two, this feels like the dawn and the announcement of a career that we've all seen. I don't want to say seen coming, but we've heard it might be coming. And that adds a layer to it as well. And then of course, City dropping points later in the night. I want to be careful how I say this, but look, I feel very privileged every time I'm at the Emirates, and I got to see a late winner against Wolves. I suspect this was better. I would have traded it. I'm just kidding. Well, a few things. So let's talk about the goal that he scored. Well, yeah, we'll talk about the goal he scores, then we'll come back and we can talk about the goal he creates and Nketiah and Gyokeres' role in that moment. But let's start from the end. I think there's going to be some people who in bad faith will look at that and say, well, he walks it into an empty net. But the header down.
Don't worry about those people, mate.
Yeah, don't worry about them. Football's not for them. But like the header down to burst past is so intelligent.
Yeah.
And then he beats another man. It reminded me a little bit of Martinelli's announcement goal against Chelsea, just a little bit, running, end to end. But the pace is so surprising with him. He has an ability to create that extra yard, which you said. So you want to walk me through the goal, his role in it, the composure, the celebration, every last little lick of detail about that goal?
Yeah, so in the previous move beforehand, I think Gabriel got mixed up with Nketiah, I believe, and they went to clear it and it got headed out for a corner. You're thinking, oh no, here we go. This is it. Because Everton were really decent on set pieces. And then the corner comes in and I think Victor Gyokeres flung himself at that near post. I mean, that's a major moment to really get there, not to make sure that we get first contact. And it flies up into the air and Martinelli does he's improved in the air, to be fair to him. But if you watch Max behind him, sort of almost reading where the header's going to go, I think that's really important. Read the drop of the ball. He reads the drop of the ball, and from then on in, it's man on man, right? And then I watched the Sunday supplement on Sunday morning, and the girl Delaney was saying that the chat inside the club was the header that they were all really impressed with. You know, to head it and then take a man
head
out.
Head it down to himself and take the burst. That was the part that stood out to me. Yeah.
Really impressive. And then, of course, now he goes left foot to right foot and comes inside. And this is the bit that you can, when you get a chance to see him up close, you will see that he's on rails. He's like a Formula One car going around the corner, and he's on rails, and then defenders in the grass, right? And then just by seeing that he can move, you're thinking he's going to score. And there's nothing better than a goal you can see coming. You know, it's like Kai Havertz's goal, and he goes around the keeper, you know it's coming. Well, this is even better because as he's gone round the last defender, the only person who's got to worry about is Martinelli doing something stupid, right? Fouling it sort of thing. And he goes through and scores. And the limbs in that ground, Elliot, the limbs, mate, was everywhere, particularly North Bank end, because I had a view of that. Just incredible celebration. It goes to the corner, the Declan Rice corner in there, and yeah, it was wonderful. And I feel very, very honoured to be in the ground to share that. I think we're going to talk about this for many, many years. I think we need to conclude this, Elliot, though, with winning something.
Yeah, I mean, of course, and they got to go do it. But like the way the team celebrated that goal too, you can tell the admiration they must all have for him and how well liked he must be, because like that wasn't the winner. The winner was scored earlier by Victor Gyokeres. Yeah. That was the icing on the cake, but the celebrations were unbridled. And the way he was mobbed, I loved it. Ben White seemed to be particularly all over him and very close to him, which is great to see because, you know, tonight when Ben White doesn't get off the bench, and my guess is he's just not fit enough. But Mikel chose Mosquera instead of Ben White. He wasn't sitting there with a you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Sulk on. He was out there celebrating wildly. By the way, so was Miles Lewis-Skelly, who fought his way through the crowd to go celebrate with his mate Max. So I loved the camaraderie that was shown there in that moment.
There is a feeling of they're all in on this year. They're all in. They know that next year's different, right? People were talking to agents, etc., and seeing where they fit, and is there a better role for them elsewhere to get more time and more minutes. I'm a big believer in our buying strategy last year becomes the start of our selling strategy this year, and then we'll go again and we'll renew. And so don't worry about those players who are not playing. I don't see any sad faces anywhere, and I would tell you if I did, Elliot. You know, I look at that bench all the time. I can see when a bad pass goes wrong. And I can see the manager's reactions because that's what I do. I study him. I study the game. I study him. I know what he likes. And I know yesterday I thought he was ultra positive on everything that we tried to do. All our intentions, he was right behind it. A bad pass. It was almost like he was doing it not just for the players, but also I think he's sending a message to the crowd that's behind him. That obviously it can get a bit angsty in that side of the ground. It's quite not super close to the press box, but on that side, press box is nearer the away dugout. But that side, that's the rhythm. That's what he hears closely. He can hear the shouts. He can hear the noises, and it's almost like he was talking to them. So if a bad pass comes along, he was like clapping it. Come on, let's go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. I thought, yeah. And hey, look, when you have a in-ground experience, I don't want to speak for everybody, but ever since that Manchester United game, I felt that the ground had been more positive. I watched it back a little bit this morning, and there were some moments in the second half when Raya nearly gave the ball away before he went long that led to the throw, which led to the goal. I could hear the crowd getting angsty. I thought, oh, I didn't sense that. But I can understand now for TV watchers, when you're watching it, you're thinking, and you're listening to the commentary, and you can almost create this vision of what's actually happening. I can only tell you what I was feeling in that ground, and it felt incredibly supportive, really did feel supportive. And I tell you now, Man United, it didn't feel supportive. It felt tense, and we played tense. It's almost since that Wolves game, the message has gone in, and it feels different there. And I can only speak my truth, mate.
No, because just to back up what you're saying, I felt it against Chelsea too. That Chelsea performance was not good after they went down to 10 men, and we were under the cosh for a lot of it. But unlike the Wolves home game where I felt the crowd was pissed off and frustrated with the Arsenal performance, the Chelsea performance felt like we're here to help you get this over the line. And I think there was more of that last night as well. We'll come back to some more Max stuff. One thing that I thought's hilarious, by the way, just sort of the unbridled joy of a teenager. When Gyokeres scores his goal,
he strangled him.
We almost had a fatality because Max Dowman choked him out. I was like, all right, mate, I get that you're happy, but can you not choke out our striker, please?
I think it's interesting what you said earlier about him not being fearful. And I do think something's in my head. I need to articulate it better and more accurately, but there is some legacy scarring in this team. But some of the newer players and the younger players
they don't have it.
Yeah. And some of our absolute heroes of yesteryear, maybe particularly in midfield and attack, maybe, I'm going to say, I include Bukayo Saka in that. I may be feeling the pressure of this moment because I
have to deliver it.
Yeah.
It's my job to deliver this after multiple seasons of not being able to. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas I think what these younger players are doing, what Eze is doing, what Madueke is doing, even Gyokeres, mate, I'm not sure he's got an emotional bone in his body. Right? He's just very cold, and he's very much right. Next shot, next pass. I ain't got the ball, so what? I'll wait for the next one. I'll make another run. There's nothing there. You know what I mean? He doesn't.
There's
care.
an iconic video of him walking down a hallway for Sporting, holding the trophy over his shoulder and a flag over his shoulder, and he's walking like he's just having a walk through the park. He couldn't care less.
He doesn't care. Noni Madueke doesn't care. If he'll take a shot on his wrong foot, he'll cross it. He'll take another shot. He'll beat another man. He doesn't care. He just goes back again and again and again. And the same with Max. Eze's now settled into the team, and he's getting on the ball a lot more. He's taking shots of both feet. And I think that's going to help the more established players to say, by the way, look what they're doing. Can we follow their lead?
Yeah, look, there are a lot of players, Clive, who miss the chance Max misses, and it's a good chance, and he leans back and he skies it. And after that, they say, you know what? I'm just going to play within myself, or their head goes down. There's none of that from him. He had one moment where the ball came to him on the touchline, and he tried to kill the defender by spinning to the touchline side, not to the inside. And it's a move he has. He does that. And it's a really clever move, and he almost pulled it off. And I thought the personality to try that in this situation, that's a very hard skill when you're up against the touchline. And he just kept going. And again, the shot he misses, Eze finds him beautifully in the box. He's there. It's a good chance.
Great move that was.
I expected him to score there, candidly. And then he skies it. It's a not composed finish.
For target, Elliot. You're harsh. You are. I'm hoping he hit target, but we haven't. Okay. He's got it in his locker, hasn't he? He's got it in his locker, hasn't he? He's got. You feel as though watching him, he's got that in his locker. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think he had the cross in his locker. I wasn't sure. That went a long way. He's pinged that from touchline to far post. And as the moment he struck it, everyone went, whoa, that could be going somewhere. And
he hit it early, too.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, I do think that there's one thing that you see, and maybe it's the byproduct of pressure. Players taking an extra touch and just an extra moment to decide what they're going to do next because they really want to get it right. And he does everything early, first time, quick. When defenses aren't quite settled, I think it confused Pickford, obviously. The defense wasn't settled. Gyokeres is on his toes, which is great to see. There had been a shot earlier. Bukayo Saka actually had a shot that squeezed under Pickford's hand, and Zubamendi wasn't quite on his toes to get to it when it fell into the 6-yard box. So it's great to see Nkapie and Gyokeres there. But that cross, by the way, I mean, we could score 100 goals if we just get that cross right? The back post in-swinging cross from the top of the box. We have so many options to deliver it, and he got it spot on. I think we should roll back, though, Clive, to the beginning. Because one of the things I did, my headline on the instant reaction was Mikel's perfect night. This was a Mikel Arteta masterpiece for me in a way because he had to make some big calls with the lineup. I think he got them spot on. He had to make some tough calls with the subs. I think he got them spot on. His words before and after the game, spot on. I think he really got this one right. And so let's talk about that because you and I messaged each other when the lineup came out. And I felt it was exactly what was needed. I thought we needed Calafiori back to add a little more central presence and creativity in our progression. I thought Kai Havertz was being rested and rotated and built up to start this game, which you had identified as the biggest one coming up. I thought keeping Nani in the team as a reward for his performances was great, but not backing down from Bukayo Saka. I really liked everything about this lineup. And so let's start with that. Leo Trossard not fit enough to be in the squad. Nani, Kai, Saka, Calafiori back. I thought it was a really good reaction from Mikel Arteta to address the things we were hoping to see addressed.
Yeah, so we were worried about a little bit of creativity, and Calafiori comes into the team, and Elliot, we look different in build-up when he's there. He just goes different places. He gets on the ball. He demands it. And he just moves it inside, outside of his left foot, does what he likes with it. You know, really good player. And I love the way, this is where squads, drive competition, good players. I mean, Hincapie's been magnificent. And Calafiori thought, when I come in, I've got to really do it. And he comes into the team and just wants to play. And that whole side looked different, completely different, immediately. And there is a debate there to be had. And I don't know which way it should go, because both of them were excellent in this game. When I saw that front four, secretly that's been a front four I've wanted to see for a while. But I wasn't sure if they were in the right positions, if I'm pretty straight with you. In my heart, I want to see him rotate a little bit. Because Eze can play left or centre.
Yep.
Bukayo can play all three positions, left, centre and right. Madueke can play right and left. And I actually think the strongest configuration may be Madueke on the right, Bukayo inside, and Eze off the left. But it doesn't matter what I think. They can do that in game. I think showing different shapes to the opposition is what we should be doing. And I think they should rotate a little bit. But I really like that front four, and Kai just knits it all together with his touches, right? He just knits it. He's not 100% back. But he's still really effective, and the guys trust him, and the rat-a-tat 1-2s are really, really good. So team selection was really positive, Elliot, to be honest. And I don't think the manager, if you did a stock rise in the manager, I hope he got one in the IR because he deserved one. I thought he got everything right.
Well, I said it. Mikel Arteta's perfect night was my headline. I called it his masterpiece. Not just the lineup, but the subs. By the way, I do want to give you credit because we do preseason predictions. We get a lot of things wrong. We get a lot of things right. One of the sections is wildest predictions. Yours was Max Dowman will be the youngest Premier League player ever. You should have gone farther and said youngest goal scorer ever. You got it. Yeah. I love how we started this game. I thought it was just what was needed. And to your point about Kai Havertz, I want to be careful how I frame this because different players bring different things. But Kai Havertz, in his hour on the pitch, was 17 of 21 passing, right? 80%, 17 passes. Victor Gyokeres averages 7 completed passes a game at 36%. Now, that is not me trying to take a stick and beat Victor Gyokeres with it. That is me saying there's something different about how you can play and build and create when you've got a center forward who is combining and involved in build-up and passing at a higher rate because you have an extra pair of boots you can pass to and connect and combine with. And I thought there was a lot of interesting combining, and let's just get to it. Maybe the best moment of our play the whole game is Eberechi Eze, who I thought was sensational, and I want to talk about him a bit more, finds a really clever Kai Havertz pass to Kai Havertz, a really clever Kai Havertz run from a good period of possession, and he is fouled, and it's not a penalty. And I feel terrible about it because, one, I think it would have been really well-deserved for a great Eze game. I think it would have been really well-deserved for Kai, whose involvement was important. Yeah. And it would have been the goal that gets us the lead, but maybe denies us the sensational ending. So maybe we're lucky they didn't get it. But you want to just talk about that moment for a minute? Because it's really well-engineered by us, and it deserved something. I mean, Kai only goes down because his ankle is raked by studs. I mean, it's very clear.
And that was right below me, and I could see that. And it's clear to me that Kai had to step on him. The ball was in his circumference. He was in control of the next action, and he goes down. To referees,
probably a red card too, by the way. Not mentioned, but if it's a penalty, it's probably a red card. Anyway,
and referees, I've been around non-league, and you see different various standards of referees. I've also been in grounds I've managed where you've got professional referees, and they're good. Generally, they're good. They know how to handle men. They know how to handle situations. They know football really, really well. And this is a football decision. You've got a player that's in control of the ball, ahead of his man, and he goes down, and they wave it off in like seconds. Come on. Just think it through a little bit, think it through.
I didn't like Andy Madley's performance, but I have to say I'm more confused and angry about VAR there than Andy Madley, because maybe Madley's not sure and he feels like, well, VAR will let me know. They hardly had a look at it. And there's so many angles that show the clear contact right down the side of the ankle. So I don't know why they cleared it.
Yeah. I heard you guys talk about it last night, and I thought, you know what, they've got a good point. I don't think his performance was really, really good. There was decisions he was making, again, it's what you get inside the ground, where he was a mile away from the ball. He was not close to the play, and these are sort of technical things that will get you a bad referee score in your assessment. He was not close. So what he was doing was not making a decision. I just thought, I found it a bit irritating. I didn't find it overly irritating, but I thought on that penalty, once I watched Match of the Day, I thought, flipping out. I mean, how can that not be given? I do wonder what they've done to the game, though. When we go one up, you know what we like. We, think back to the Brighton game. We scored after 9 minutes, was it? And we then stunk the place out thereafter. So we were playing well, and almost, I didn't mind it. I wouldn't. It would be interesting to see what would happen, but this was always going to be a tight game. And 87 minutes, I would think about that penalty quite a lot, and have we missed the moment? So, but it's just a sign of Eze's ability, Elliot. He's starting to roam around the pitch. His heat map, he's no longer next to Gyokeres' left leg. His heat map is everywhere now. He's getting on the ball. He's playing at his own pace. He's receiving it. People are trusting him inside. He's quite strong. So when people try to tear through him, he makes sure he gets a foul. It's one of my big bugbears. If you receive it inside, you lose your pitch. No problem. Protect it, get a foul. And he's doing that. He's turning around, prepared to play interesting flicks first time. He's prepared to play that slide pass. I like his game. It's growing. It's really growing, Elliot. It's really growing. Again, another player without the scar tissue. Just taking shots, taking passes, playing at his own rhythm, not listening to the crowd, just doing what he wants to do. And I think it's brilliant. He had one shot in the it might have been second half, I believe.
Second half curler from the right channel. It just goes past the post, and he hits it first time,
that
right?
That was a left-footed one. Oh, my God. That just brought a gasp from everybody because, again, it was early. No one saw it. He's lifted it over the keeper and around, and he just missed the post. And so, basically, that was an amazing moment at school. He had a right foot shot that was like a bullet, like the one at Mansell, but the goalkeeper saved it. And so we're having memories now of him affecting the goal, aren't we? Affecting the target. Yeah. This is what we want. We're in winning time. We need to score big goals, big moments, something instinctive and magical. And it's going to come from him. And look at the minutes he's stacking up now. He's stacking them up, isn't he? And this is the moment, Elliot. This is the moment. And this day will stay with me for years and years and years. I heard something on TV this morning. And one of that Newcastle journalist, I think his name's Craig Hope, he sort of said something, I don't like him, but he said something that was really quite good, actually. He said, it seemed to move on in this game against Arsenal. It moved from the Arsenal fans waiting to see if they're going to lose it to waiting to see when they can win it. And I thought, that's it. Because I walked to that stadium now thinking, oh my God, we could win this. When? When is it going to happen? And
we could win it at the Etihad. There's a path to that.
Yeah, is there? I haven't done the math yet, no doubt. You have. I haven't done the math yet.
It depends, because if City get knocked out of the Champions League by Madrid, which currently they're on pace to do, and if the Palace game gets put before our trip to the Etihad, then there is a path to it happening. I'm not saying I think it will happen, but there is a path to it happening. I want to dig into some of the things that weren't perfect on this night. I think in the interest of good analysis, as fun as this day was and as memorable as it was, I'd like to analyze the football a little bit. And I think there are things about the football I want to ask you about that aren't perfect. So why don't we do this? Because I want to ask you about that. I want to talk about that Calafiori Scorpion block again. I want to talk a little bit about substitute performances. There's the Raya save at the start of the second half and maybe the Raya performance in general I have a question for you about. So there's still a lot of good stuff on the bone here. And we got to talk a little bit about Leverkusen on Tuesday. So why don't we just do a quick palate cleanser with, the only thing you can cleanse your palate with. Food. Food is a good palate cleanser. And if you want the best food, you could get it from Factor. Factor meals are fresh, healthy, good meals delivered ready. They are ready to eat in 2 minutes with no planning and no cooking. You can get options that are high in protein. You can get options that are for strength and recovery. You can get options that are for people who are on GLP-1s or the Mediterranean diet or just on, a calorie smart approach. I used to hate having to plan meals. Like every once in a while, do I like going to the grocery store, buying some nice ingredients, coming home and making an amazing meal? Yes. Does it turn out amazing? Well, not every time, but you get the idea. But most of the time, trying to figure out what to make for yourself or for the family is a burden, and it's difficult, and it can wind up being expensive. And then a lot of times I'd find myself throwing out ingredients and stuff that had gone bad because I never got around to making the meal. Factor is an affordable, phenomenal way to get great food, fresh, ready in 2 minutes. And all you got to do is head to factormeals.com/ArsenalVision50off. ArsenalVision, the number 50 off, and use code ArsenalVision50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. That offer is valid for new Factor customers with the code and the qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. And once you're well-fed, then you're ready to start your e-commerce business, of course. And if you're going to do that, you're going to use Shopify. Look, what you want is you want to get your products, your art, your merchandise, whatever it is that you do that you're passionate about in front of people who want to buy it. And then when they get to see it, it should look professional. It should be on Facebook. It should be on Instagram. It should be on TikTok, all the places that your audience is. And it should be the case that you don't have to understand what cart optimization is or, how to deal with the shipping and checkout process. So Shopify builds you a professional looking site. It links it to all the key social media platforms, and it takes care of the e-commerce side that you don't need to learn. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Cha-ching! Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ArsenalVision. Go to shopify.com/ArsenalVision. That's shopify.com/ArsenalVision. Hear your first cha-ching this new year with Shopify by your side. Glad. Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Nailed it. Look, one thing about our football that was kind of bothering me last night, like I thought we played well. I thought we were more dominant in the positions that we occupied. I thought we were better in progressing the ball. I thought Calafiori helped with that. But when we got in the final third, one thing I really noticed is how much our number 10 was really William Saliba. That William Saliba had the ball at his feet at the start of or at the end of our buildup with a lot of the responsibility to make that next killer pass. William Saliba had to make the pass between a center back and a fullback to free a winger. William Saliba had to make the pass on the slant into Kai Havertz. And I just was finding myself thinking, as phenomenal as he is and as capable of doing that as he is, too many of our moves involved Saliba having to try to make the defense splitting or unlocking pass. So did you notice that? Do you have an observation about Saliba pushing really high up and being the one with that responsibility, and maybe any tweaks to how we could do that or why it was winding up like that?
Yeah, so we know on Friday night we were talking about this fullback positions, Timber sometimes being high and Calafiori being higher in the season. And I almost had a little argument myself. I was walking the dogs on Saturday morning. I thought, well, I could have explained that a bit better. I think the game, we maybe can do a rewatch this, Elliot, in the national break. The game that really changed my season was the Bayern Munich game at home. And the level of rotation from both sides, mate, I can't describe it to you. Honestly, the situation that sometimes we had no centre-backs. They just weren't there. And we trusted to leave that space to other people. They were everywhere, we were everywhere. And that ability to rotate is really important. Within the man-to-man systems and people rotating, sometimes you have a situation where you want to leave certain people on the ball. And so the opposition said, well, I'd rather have Saliba on the ball because I don't want Saka on the ball. I don't want these players. I don't want Kai to have the ball. So someone needs to have it. And if our spare man Saliba, and he can do a lot of stuff on it, then that's the risk that the opposition carry. And do they want to carry it for the entire game? I wouldn't see it as a detriment to our style. I see it as this is what the opposition are letting us have. What can we do with it? And I think back to the days when Saliba's not there, how our build-up just looks so clunky. Because teams are doing this. They'd rather focus on our right-handed side targets, the receivers, than the players like him. And what he's so good at is that when he goes high and he's 5 yards away from an attacker or a midfielder or a winger, he can do a rondo with them. He can get the ball and he can play it through. This is incredible. I mean, these guys now are midfielders now. They basically, it's a team of midfielders, and the only thing that differentiates them is their size and their last man ability on the last line to make big tackles and headers, etc. He builds up as well as any centre mid, and also he can run with it as well. He's got soft feet, got soft passes. I don't see it as a detriment. I see it as a byproduct of trying to break man-to-man systems and rotate. And in eventuality, it's going to be a spare man. They're going to most likely make your spare man be your defender. Sometimes it's your weakest defender. But because we're so right-side dominant, we always get there eventually. We go left, we come back to the keeper, and then we go back out to the right. We go back out to the right, they're collapsing across, and we get the ball into our right-sided player. We are right-sided dominant attack. No point in arguing about it. Our left side was better in this game, but we're a regular 40% down the right-hand side, and the rest of the change split between the middle and the left. And he's a key part of that. And so I see it as good. I was a bit concerned about, where I was concerned. I mean, it's interesting you went straight to Saliba. I was...
Just so we're clear, that was not meant to be a criticism of Saliba. I hope it was, because he had 104 passes in the game.
Yeah.
My criticism, it's not even criticism. My observation is, because Saliba was sensational.
Yeah, I think
what
so.
other center back can have 104 out of 110 passes, 95% on 110 passes, 127 touches, 13 final third entries? My point isn't, this is a bad Saliba game. It's a sensational Saliba game. My point is there someone else that can be in that pocket? Like the way we ended this game, Clive, don't yell at me.
Mm-hmm.
Rice at 6 and 2/8, baby.
Yeah,
you know it's where my hope comes from. But like, why is it not Zubi on the ball where Saliba is, or even Eza dropping into that space? It was more just the system generating a lot of final third touches for our center back versus other options. That's all.
Yeah, I think. But what would you do if you're the opposition? You try to mark the centre midfielders, wouldn't you? And you let the people furthest away from you let the people furthest away from the goal have the ball. If the person furthest away from the goal happens to be William Saliba, from an Everton perspective, that's okay. But I don't want it fisting to Zubimendi because he might find a pass inside. So I'll stand on him. You know, there are occasions in the second phase Zubimendi gets the ball. There's a bit yesterday. I thought he had a really good game yesterday, but I think people are starting to get on him. I don't know why, because I thought he was good. I actually thought he was better than Rice in the early phase of this game. I thought Rice took a knock and he's limping.
Mm-hmm.
What's his space for the week, by the way?
Yeah, his shoe came off. He's holding his foot. And I will say, Rice had one of those games where I do just look at roles and profiles, though, because he had a few moments where he got the ball, slid to him from Nani, top of the box kind of thing. And you just see the difference in instinct, like when Eza gets the ball in that position versus Rice gets the ball in that position, the natural instinct of what to do next, you know?
Yeah. I looked at the overall intent. Let's be honest, right? Stuttgart, we didn't play. Sorry, why say Stuttgart? Leverkusen, we didn't play well.
We probably would have played better against Stuttgart because they're way worse than Leverkusen.
We didn't play well, but we got the job done, and we turned up the volume late in the game and got our point. Brighton, we scored early. Didn't really play well though, Elliot, did we? I haven't got a memory of anything.
We couldn't keep the ball, and that's one thing I liked. I know it was late when we went 1-0 up in this game, but like. We had 65% possession in this game, right? We possessed the ball in the right areas of the pitch. When we got the lead, I still think we tried to pass to a red shirt. We tried to pass to each other. We kept the ball on the ground. We kept passing it. I just, fundamentally, we have a lot of very talented players at every position. And so the question becomes, where does the ball need to be to break down these defenses? And so it was an observation for me that the ball was frequently at Saliba's feet, which it was. And it's just a question of can it wind up at someone else's feet? Now, one person who had the ball at his feet a few times, both defensively and in attack, was Calafiori. I think Piero Hincapié is wonderful and he's important on our goal. But I do think you can see what Calafiori adds. And by the way, really dominant in the air too. Doesn't get enough credit for that because he's a very big guy. We mentioned the scorpion kick save. It deserves another mention because it was so good. But I'm also curious to get your take on the way he influenced our ball progression and possession.
Yeah, magnificent. You know, my halftime note said it. I couldn't stop. You know, sometimes you just can't take your eyes off certain players, right? And I could just see him get on the ball. I thought he was. I thought he literally was transformational to our build-up.
I agree. Completely agree.
Transformational. I felt different about the team. I said to you in the note, I said, we look like Arsenal Football Club again. We just did. And from that moment on, all bets were off for me. I thought sometimes when you walk into a game, I walked into the ground, I met some of the staff that I know, and they said to me, "Oh, Clive, we're staying open for the City game." I'm thinking, "Oh, don't upset the football gods. Why we doing that? Why we doing that?" Trust me, after the game, that ground was rocking, mate. Watching the City game, and I was worried about this game, Elliot. And then you see people like Calafiori who just take your worries away. The ball comes, mate, and they're all over it. They're all over their opponent. They're running through the midfield. They're stroking out to win. They're heading towards the box. And you see a level of freedom. It sort of takes your own nerves away, and you think, if they can play like this, I need to do my job, right? Which is start singing, for God's sake, So, because that's what it felt like. And I got a lot of confidence from him. I think I said the words, I thought he was sensational in the first half. That may have been overkill for some, but I really thought he was. I thought he was supremely there for his teammates, there for a 1-2, really trying to win his place back. That's what it looked like to me, by it really affecting the team. He wasn't charging around playing for himself. He was charging around trying to add to our build-up and really create on the left-hand side. In the last few games, I have not seen that at all. It's coming to the point of the season now where Declan goes into, we're not going to lose this game mode. And he starts to cover all of the gaps, make all the tackles, all the recoveries, and he's incredibly important at that. But I think we're looking for the two centre mids to give us a little bit more going forward, shall we say? And this is why I thought Calafiori and Timber have taken a lot of that up. We lost Timber in this game, and I was not surprised to see Mosquera come on in it, if I'm honest with you, because I could feel Everton. I could feel Everton's. I could feel the fear. I could feel them playing well,
So I do want to stay on that. So let's stay on it for a minute. Because one, again, I was really full of praise for Mikel at the end of this. And one of the reasons is Timber is a player similar to Ben White, by the way, who will gut it out. He's not going to take himself off the pitch. We've seen that. He played on a torn ACL, right? And didn't reveal enough. You know what? I'm not going to go there because it opens a Pandora's box, can of worms. But my point is, he was clearly hurt. I think he's been carrying something anyway. That's sort of been in the ether. And he was clearly hurt. He was not playing well. He was becoming a liability because he didn't have his physical best. And Mikel did not leave him out there, did not hesitate, didn't wait for the second half. He made a decisive change. And I do think it tells you where Benjamin White's fitness is right now, that it was Mosquera and not Ben White. But I thought that was a big moment in the match, Clive, Mikel's decision not to let Timber keep trying to gut it out,
Yeah, well, he took a knock right by the sideline, literally in front of Mikel's bench, right? He took her right on the touchline, and we rocked for a while after that because we were one man short in defence. They get the shot off the post, and they have a bit of pressure, and that could have last year. That's 1-0 down. It's as simple as that. That's 1-0 down. That goes in off the post, hits Raya in the head, and goes in. Right, that's what it felt like. This time we get a bit of a break. We sit him down, he gets treatment, and we get a bit of a moment to rest and think. And you can see White and Mosquera warming up. And I'll be honest with you, in my heart, I'm hoping for Mosquera because I've just felt at that moment that Everton were quite threatening. They're quite physical. And I just thought we needed another stick-on defender to maybe stand still because Calafiori was flying. I thought, well, you know what? Mosquera is the better one for this game. If we were 1-0 down 25 minutes ago and Timber goes off, I think Ben White comes on. Honestly, I think that's the case.
Interesting.
We are talking about sometimes, particularly with players like Ben White, who in the last year or so have played very few minutes. And we all have these memories of players. But at this moment in time, until they get their rhythm back, they are just that. They are memories. We have to the manager, he had more recent memories of Mosquera defending really, really well in critical games. And so he's going to pick him. I thought he came in and really stabilised us on that side. And I thought he had a really good game. It was the right pick for this game, without a doubt.
And I think it was just a good performance. It was a good, dominant, professional performance. They had some chances. And I do think that our defensive dominance has led people to forget that the opposition gets chances. They do. Would we like them to get no chances? Yes. And did they maybe have a little bit more than we'd like? Yes. But I thought we played well. I thought we were maybe either slightly cautious or slightly inaccurate with the final ball to unlock them. But they are one of the best defensive teams in the league. I should mention, by the way, though, no Tarkowski or Branthwaite in this game. So that's worth noting. We'll jump ahead here in a moment, but at the start of the second half, David Raya had to make a really important save down near the post with his foot. It's a stunning save.
Wow.
And I frequently get things wrong on the instant reaction. One of the reasons I get things wrong is because, well, first of all, like, you've just seen the game, the emotions coursing through your veins, and we have this headline stock rising, stock falling format that we use. And by the time we get to the stock falling, I'm like, I don't even remember, mate. Like, what even happened? So I tend to default to a thing that I felt. And in the cold light of day, sometimes either the stock rising or the stock falling winds up being wrong. I had a weird, I think, relationship to this David Raya performance because David Raya made some saves that were absolutely essential. But the Calafiori scorpion kick comes from a cross that he doesn't deal with well.
Yeah.
Yep. He sort of flaps it down. There's a late header from a corner where I just thought the ball was flying in. I think it was when we were still 0-0. You remember it?
Yeah,
and
I think it might come off Mosquera,
scene,
actually. And
yeah. Well, we got a goal kick, but I think you're right that it goes off Mosquera. He goes into a crowd and gets lost. He flapped a little bit later at another one. So the save he makes is stunning, and he had a couple really good saves in this game. He gave one pass again where it was like rolling and nearly picked off, and he's done that a couple of times recently. I think I'm nervous because this is a keeper for me who one of his big USPs is that he's so dominant commanding his box. He's great at claiming crosses. He's been really good at that. And I thought he was a little flappy and a little lost in crowd scenes here. Now, I think he's the first keeper. Let me get the exact record right. Arsenal's David Raya becomes the first goalkeeper in Europe's top 5 leagues to record 20 clean sheets in all competitions. That comes from CBS Sports Golazo. So huge credit to him for that. But do I have anything there, Clive, or is it just my own nerves bleeding into my analysis with the way he's handling some of the corners and crosses?
Yeah, so there was one cross where I think he came for it, but Gabriel headed it away just in front of him, sort of thing. And I'm
Poor
thinking,
communication there, yeah.
Yeah, but...
And it reminded me of the one against, was it Wolves?
Yeah. He wants to help, right? He's a proactive goalkeeper. He's brave. You know, one of the phrases used about him is he prevents mistakes before they even happen. And he wants to help. He wants to help. He wants to step in there and be brave. And that's the way he's been coached. And that's why we bought him, for this very reason. I think I'm watching these games, Elliot, and they are no longer football games. They are no longer football games as we know them. Because we are close to doing something that we've never done since we've been in that new stadium. You know, we are close to doing something that we haven't done for a long time. And in this context, it is no longer football, mate. This is about how can we win? What do we do? What can we do to help each other? What difference can we make? What can we do to turn this 0-0 into a victory? And at that moment on, all previous behaviours they're out the window. Now, if we were playing to structure and playing to positional play, well, Hincapie's not on the back post on that cross. He's nowhere near it, right? So, and that's the difference. You've got to do something. The goalkeeper's part of that. He's trying to come out and claim. He's trying to come out and make a difference. And when it comes down to basic goalkeeping, that shot by the near post where he got his leg out, that's the moment of the game. We don't win without that. So everything else is just throw it away, throw it in the bin. You know, honestly, throw it in the bin, because he's trying to do something to help us win. And I look around these players at the moment, and I'm just not judging them the same. I'm not judging the play the same. What I'm looking for at the moment is energy, bounce, and intention to play. That's what I'm looking for. Because when you have that framework, you can then deliver against it. I'm not looking at comparing this player to that player. I'm looking at saying, what can you do for us? What are you going to do for us today to make sure you dominate your man and that we can progress up the pitch to get the goals that we need, to give us the 4 or 5 pictures we need to win this league? And David Raya, he could be player of the season. And I'm not saying, because I think what you're saying is absolutely true. I sometimes think, slow down, mate. Slow down, make sure the pass goes correctly, all the rest of it. That's my inner fear talking versus what he's actually doing. What he's actually doing is saving our season, like he always does, make big, unbelievable saves at critical moments from point-blank ranges. Do I have the nerves? Absolutely do I have the nerves. But I just think it's in the context of what we're trying to achieve this year. And what we're trying to achieve this year, mate, we've never done it before. You know, what could happen? We've never done it.
Yeah. With respect to the second half, I'm not sure we were creating enough. And again, I think Mikel was so good with his subs. He didn't particularly wait. I think Martinelli and Gyokeres for Nani and Kai winds up being important because Gyokeres scores the winner. What did you make of this Victor Gyokeres substitute appearance? I mean, he has a header late that leads to Max Dowman's goal. That's absolutely essential. He throws himself at it, as you mentioned. Yeah. He scores the winner because he's on his toes. It is so obvious to me just how different we are with him on versus Kai on, because he's not going to touch the ball. He's not going to pass the ball. You know, he's going to make some runs and he's going to try to get into the right spot to score, and he does. They're just different ways of playing, and they're going to fit people's eyes differently, but he shows up in a moment we need him to. And for strikers, if you score goals, the rest can probably get thrown in the bin from an analysis standpoint. But I'm going to ask you to pull it out of the bin, unwrap the crumpled up paper, and read off it. What do you make of the substitute performance from Victor Gyokeres, who hasn't really had to play as a sub much this season at all?
Yeah, and I think this would have been the role he would have played every other game. And he was not able to do that because we lost our other centre forwards to an injury, and the other one had a cruciate at the time. So he was forced to play 60, 70 minutes every single 3 days, basically. And Marino backfilling for him when he got injured. And that's where we were. So here we are now in a situation where exactly what many of us thought would happen, that Havertz would be there for the big games, the important games, particularly at home. And Gyokeres may be used away from home a little bit more. And definitely for the last 20-minute jobs, particularly when we hopefully the home game state, we go ahead and Gyokeres comes on, teams push on, and Gyokeres goes and picks their pocket. That was my little dream pre-season scenario, basically, to land to settle into a new league. In this game, this is why I thought it was a fantastic day, actually. As I was recording my bit for you yesterday, I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking, mate, we've got Calafiori playing, our two centre-backs are doing the business, and they're handling their man easily, progressing the play, goalkeepers flying around. We lose one fullback, bring another one who's even more defensively secure. Two centre mids have got their rhythm back again and then popping the ball about. Eze's in the 10, he's starting to strut and cruise around the pitch. We got Saka back, got his mojo back a little bit, not fully back, but on his way back. Look at the numbers, they look really, really good. Noni on the left, we're trying something different. And got Kai back. I'm thinking, oh, great. Then we make a substitutions. We make Hincapié. I'm thinking, and then we bring on, and I'm looking at it, I'm saying, this is the best of us. This is the best of what we have with the changes. We're missing Odegaard, maybe missing Trossard from this group, and Marino. That's it. This is the best of what we have. And I was thinking, crikey, if we don't win, where do we go with this? You know, where do we go? What's missing? What's not there? Gyokeres comes in, plays his part, and scores the goal, which we all moaning about last year. We just want a goal. We just want a guy to stand between the sticks. Just stand between the sticks and be there when that ball comes across. And where was he when the ball comes across? Anticipating, not on his heels like he was early in the season, anticipating where it might go for an easy tap-in. Exactly the type of goal Arsenal do not score. You know, we don't score these goals. Everyone else scores them, didn't they? Little tap-ins and side foots. We don't. Our strikers on the edge of the area, waiting for a combination play in our wide triangles. And so everything that we've done in pre-season, I thought it came to fruition this game. It really did, because the extra competition for Calafiori to make him play like that, because he's got someone behind him, right around him. You're looking at what Noni's done to force himself into the team. Bukayo's thinking, I better play better. I can't have two stinkers in a row. You know, and now we've got a rotation at centre forward. Eze's coming now, carrying that position because Martin Odegaard's not available. If anything, the only place we haven't got massive rotation is in the double centre mids, you know. Yeah. We haven't got there, but everything is going the right direction. And Gyokeres, for me, again, play your role, there for the long passes, for the sets and second ball, but also stay between the sticks, son. Stay between there. That's where the action's going to happen. We're going to create chances. Do not move, and the goals don't move. Be there for when it happens. And I was hoping that I want to see another great shot like at Spurs. But I thought it was all right, Elliot. But for me, Kai Havertz is, if you want to draw a Mikel Arteta centre forward down on a piece of paper, that's the guy. But it doesn't mean you have to end every single game, do every single 90 minutes.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, look, you know where we're going to go next because it's my hobby horse. The way we finish this game. First of all, again, huge credit to Mikel. Like, it wasn't Max Dowman for Saka. You know, it was Max Dowman for Zubamendi. And whatever you think of the Zubamendi performance, what I actually thought was pretty good. It's a change that invites the opportunity to get a winning goal more. And Bukayo Saka moves inside, Max Dowman moves out to the wing, and Declan Rice gets to just clean up and make sure nothing gets by him, which is something that he is uniquely qualified to do. Whether it's Max Dowman doing it or not, whether it's Leo left, Nani right, and Saka in the 8, along with Eze in the 8, or when Odegaard's back, when it's Eze and Odegaard with Declan Rice, do you think that Mikel might find more situations where he wants to go single pivot double 8s, or is that just Elliot being Elliot because it's literally the only thing I can think of most times?
Yeah, well, I'm sure we will. But Elliot, it's not like I don't agree with you, but this is exactly the scenario we should do it in, isn't it?
Yep.
This is it. I don't think we should be starting games like this. I don't, but I am a pragmatist, so I like what we do. I like how we built up. And so I liked what we did in this game. I liked the rhythm. I liked what we did. So yeah, I'm all for that. I don't. There are other ways you could do it. You can really invert your fullback and make that the extra midfielder, and then stick extra attackers on. You can do that. We've done that before. We haven't done that so much this season. Proof's in the pudding, right? We've got more wins than ever, and we're in 4 competitions, playing more games than ever. I think a lot of that comes from our structure, and I like it. And but when you're making changes and you're trying to win a game of football, some people take a defender out, some people take a midfielder out who's got defensive and recycled tendencies, right? So what we did, we put Eze back into that role, put Rice. Eze's played almost like a 1+1, one in front of the other, but closer, so he could be the first pass for Rice, then turn around and go. But he's obviously more attacking in his body and get to the edge of the area for shots. It's the right thing to do. It's absolutely the right thing to do. Well, like I say, look what Pep did in Madrid. He did a similar thing and got skinned. At the start of the game when he's potentially out the tie. And
by the way, did it again against West Ham and got 1 goal. And drew. So it's not a panacea.
Yeah. But there are times for it. There are times when you've got to do stuff. You've got to win stuff. That means you've got to take gambles. You've got to put more attacking players onto the pitch. And that's what we did. We made changes. I thought you got everything right. Everything right. The only little niggle is I thought Eze, Madueke and Saka could have rotated a little bit to create a different shape. Maybe that's coming in time. Because just before Madueke came off, he was on the right for some, I think, post a dead ball.
Yep.
And he absolutely skinned his man. And I thought, you're not bad on the left, but you're really good on the right. Really good.
Let's be honest. It's a muted performance from Nani off the left. It's a muted performance from Martinelli, albeit a very brief one, off the left. I still cannot get away from the idea that Eze off the left with his ability to beat a man and deliver a really good ball is something that if Odegaard was fit, we'd be seeing, but we just don't have an option. So for right now, it is what it is. I want to shift gears and just get to Leverkusen for a minute because it is on Tuesday. It comes quick. There's 2 huge games. There's a Champions League second leg, and there's a cup final.
Yeah.
If I can only win one of them, I'm winning the one on Tuesday. I'm sorry, everybody. That's where I'm at. This club can't be going out of the Champions League with the draw we've got at this phase. We've never won that trophy. It is a huge blight on our CV, on our reputation globally not to have it. And this is a season where we are good enough to win it, and we have a draw where we will be favored all the way until the final. So we should be doing this now. We should be doing what we can to win this. So for me, Clive, whatever rotation he's got in mind, whatever rest and readiness he's got in mind, I think Mikel Arteta needs to make sure he is not looking past Tuesday towards the cup final. And I'm curious if you see it the same way.
Yeah, I do. Hey, look, this was the big one for me. Everton was the one that opens up the rest of the season. What happened with City thereafter has just given me more confidence that how important this Everton game was. If you were in that stadium towards the end of that game, I don't care what Leverkusen have got. They're getting it on Tuesday. There's enough. They can't survive that place. Because we're back into our attacking intent again. Some of that pressure we had in the second half around Everton's box had them camped in, and we were able to get wave after wave after wave. We're back to being ourselves again, much closer to ourselves, shall we say. Not perfect, but closer to ourselves, with more and more people standing up. We found a new player in Max Dowman in this game, who's going to play a part late in games going forward if we need him to, while protecting his development and growth. And so much better. But Leverkusen, I felt they showed something that they showed us something in that first game, how structured they can be. But I thought we in the second half, once we worked out that we need to shake them on the outside and really be direct, I thought Martinelli and Noni in that game were quite good late. You know, they were quite good. I think that's what we need to do. I think based on the first game, I think they played really well. I think we're going to take them. You know, I just can't see it. I can't see us not taking them. Massively important. The League Cup final, I think we're going to be fine in that. You know, I do. Wembley has a good feeling for Arsenal people. It just feels right when we go there. It feels like our home. We'll have all the neutral seats.
Might be our home for a season or two to come,
All the Club Wembley tickets will be to London people, mate. We'll have all of them. And so we'll be all over that ground, all over the area, because that's what we do. And so, yeah, let's see what happens if we're fit and healthy for that game. I think we'll be all right.
So, look, if you do want to talk a little bit about Leverkusen and where they can be, you know, a problem for us, we know up that left-hand side, right? That's where they want to attack with Grimaldo, and if it's got to be Mosquera over there, they're going to have a little more joy potentially. I don't know that Timber will be ready to come right back in. Victor Gyokeres is now up to 16 goals in all comps, which whatever you think of his overall quality, that output is getting us places, getting us important points, getting us over the line. I think we looked a little better from an overall fluidity standpoint with Kai Havertz in there, and I'd like Kai to play. I just don't know if Mikel will think he can start Kai Havertz 2 games in 3 days. The left-hand side, like I said, did Nani look sparkling off the left? No. Would he go with him again?
He looked
He's got
all
some
right,
big
Elliot.
calls.
He looked okay.
He wasn't bad. I just think it was not the same kind of dynamism we see on the right where he looks like he can't be stopped. I think the way he played against Leverkusen, their fullbacks can't handle him, or wingbacks. They cannot handle him. And so I think there might be cause for Mikel Arteta to look at starting Nani off the right in this game, to just do what he did in his sub appearance against Leverkusen. And maybe you bring Bukayo Saka inside and push Eze out to the left. It'd be a very big game to try something you haven't done. And so that's my only question. Is Mikel going to say, you know what? I'm going to do things I'm familiar with because this is a weird time to experiment? Or is he going to invoke the spirit of Pep Guardiola, who's always been willing to experiment in the Premier League and try something he hasn't done before?
Yeah, when you want to rotate, this Everton game maybe is a start. We got 3 games in a week. The Everton game is almost the start of the rotation. You know, so you see a bit of Calafiori in this game. The Hincapi didn't have a great game in Leverkusen. Right? He didn't really manage the game really well. Mate, he came on in this game and just went, well, I'm not having that. And he came on with incredible. And so you can see those two sharing the games this week. Which way around it will go, I'm not too sure. But maybe let's see what Mikel wants to do against Man City. What type of defensive unit he wants to put together. You know, if Timber's out, this may suit Calafiori a bit more to be the looser, more attacking fullback, shall we say? If Mosquera plays, which I think he will play. I think Timber took a knock in all those celebrations. It took Timber a while to get there in that corner flag. He wasn't running, mate. He was walking over there, you know. So that's a little bit of a worry. But we got cover, haven't we? We have got the cover for it. So yeah, I'm not too worried. I just think we started to see Arsenal again, and that was my little worry, Elliot. I was so concerned about the fatigue. You know, that was the thing that I'm thinking, if we get this wrong against Everton, City win, we have a month to think about the gap closing. And now what's happened? The gap's grown. And we've got a month to think about the gap's grown. And if we beat Leverkusen, we can start to plan the next round. And we can just cup final 50-50, mate. It's a 50-50 game. I'm going to it, thank God, and I'm going to be there. And when I'm there, it's going to be the most important thing in the world. The most important thing in the world is that league title. And that ground atmosphere told me what was important to everybody. We do not want to be ridiculed for not winning something when we have been on top of the league for I don't know how many days. We need to get this job over the line. That's the only thing that matters. Everything else, I really want it to happen. The Champions League could happen. But if the Champions League, we need to find real form. You know, and I think at the moment, I look at Bayern Munich, I think their form is really, really good. I look at PSG, their form is returning. Real Madrid, their form is peaking and returning. There are other teams peaking while we're carrying the caravan up the hill in the Premier League to try to win it.
Mm-hmm.
If we win the Premier League and we're still in the Champions League, I think everything will start to feel downhill. And then we'll become very, very dangerous for any opponent. Until that time, it's literally quarter by quarter, half by half, train session by train session, just keep going.
Yeah. For those of you wondering, could Max Dowman start in the Champions League? Mikel was asked if Max could start games soon. Here was his answer, quote, "Calm. Let's come down to earth today and enjoy the moment because it was intense and it was worth it, and we'll see tomorrow." So
yeah,
Mikel calling for calm there.
They're starting to get... They said this morning that, oh yeah, Max is a really good player. He's got a bit of an attitude. Trying to label him already. Got a bit of swagger. You know, then someone else comes in.
I mean, that's not what you hear. You hear, I mean, Mikel referenced his character multiple times in his answers about why he felt comfortable calling on him, what he's got to do, what he's been able to do. He referenced his character, and I don't think
so. What happened?
I don't think there's any sense that his character is anything other than wonderful, which is why, by the way, he's still at Arsenal.
What happens, though, Elliot?
On the mood in the camp?
Sorry, I was about to say, what happens, though, is people that don't know him so well take a snapshot of what they think they're seeing on the pitch and then align the narratives and the character traits without knowing him. For people that know him and know his family, and there are many people around Arsenal that do know him and know how he's come up and what he's doing off the pitch and how he's allowed to be a kid still, you know, because he is, you know, but with extreme talent. And look at the way the players are with him. I mean, these are special times to let people label him. I'm sure Arsenal will get hold of those journalists and say, "Boy, hold on a minute. He's got double maths on Mondays. Talk about him properly," you know?
I have to say, I was watching the coverage after the game concluded, and it's Max just walking around the pitch, and the guy with the steady cam has it jammed in his face, basically. Yeah. Max is a 16-year-old walking around the pitch, and there's a steady cam 2 feet from his face going out to the world, and he's just walking there, calm as could be. The idea that you could even begin to understand what it must feel like at 16. I mean, I think about being 16. I don't think I'd hit puberty yet, if we're being completely honest. Some people would say, have you now? Still unclear.
Your voice is still breaking, mate.
Yeah. And he's just walking around that pitch, 60,000 people not moving, cheering you on, and a steady cam jammed in your face. To talk about character, the character is to just be able to even take another step or take another breath in that moment, let alone how you react to it. I can't say enough good things about him. And on the late goals, Mikel said, it is big because you put so much passion, effort, hours into this, which is our passion. When you turn around and you see the bench and their eyes just filled with that happiness, that joy, and you're almost not believing what has just happened, it makes all the sense in the world for what we do and the difficult moments that we go through. And the reaction of the bench as well, when I see everybody so willing and so generally happy about the team winning in the matter we did, it's so special. Mikel deserves credit for something that we don't talk about much, which is there are players who aren't playing as much as they'd like. Look where they are. Look where Miles Lewis-Skelly is when Max scores. He's burrowing into the celebration. Who hugs Mikel the hardest when Gyokeres scores? Kai Havertz, who was taken off for that guy, who's going to have to battle for that position. They're embracing each other and celebrating. This group is Ben White, who didn't come on. Mosquera did, right? Could he have a sulk? No, he's the first over to Max Dowman. So I love the togetherness in the group. I think you're right that this is a lift. We need to go bury Leverkusen. We do have to do that. It is a huge game. The final point I'll make is that we are now in a position where we have a margin for error in the league. Now, that doesn't mean go throw points away. But I think that could create a lightness as well for a team that's seen themselves fall short. Being able to play without the existential burden on your back every time you go on the pitch, that could be a big lift. And we'll have to see. We don't play again in the league for almost a month. So we get to rewatch this game over on the Patreon. We get to rethink about this performance. We get to go into the next 2 games, cup games, Champions League, League Cup final, without having to worry about the burden of the league, with the burden of the league sagging on a Manchester City team who are 3 goals down to Real Madrid. We're right where we want to be psychologically. Now we just have to go and execute. I think we should leave it there. We will almost certainly have a rewatch of this at some point. It might have to be during the interlull, though, because we got 2 big cup ties coming up.
Yeah.
We will have an Academy pod coming this week for patrons who want to follow the Academy. One of the Academy players that we might talk about Max Dowman, just 16 years old, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but pretty important player. Okay, enough nonsense. We'll leave it there. Clive, thank you.
Thank you very much.
More from Phil and Paul and Tim in the future. I do want to say Phil going through a really hard time with his back. He's experiencing a lot of pain, a lot of sleeplessness, and we send love and thoughts to Phil as he tries to get on the right track. And if you are connected to him on socials or anywhere, send him some love. Tell him you're thinking of him, because I know it's really hard, and he's a young guy, and to be going through that is not great. So we wish him speedy recovery. Yep. All right. See you in DC on the 11th for those who want to be there. More information on London coming as well. We love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10. Leverkusen, no.